over how to multiply integers. So in our number routine, it's called alike and different. Can you write down 2 ways these numbers are alike and 2 ways these numbers are different? So we have 5 times -4 and -4 times 5. Well, they're alike. Let me get my trusty thing. They are alike. They both have a 5, and I both see a -4. I see a multiplication. And how are they different? The order, they're different because of the order. However, what we know is commutative property, they will have the same value. And what will that value be? What's 5 groups, 5 times -4? 5 groups of -4. That's -4, -4, -4, -4, -4, -20. What would the -4 times 5, or the opposite of 4 times 5? 4 times 5 is 20. Opposite of that is also -20. So they both have the same value. So in our do now, it says, please model 6 times -3. That's 6 groups of -3. Here's one group of -3. Here is a second group of -3. Here's a third group of -3. A fourth group of -3. A fifth group of -3. And a sixth group of -3. So 6 times -3, or 6 groups of -3, I see the answer as -18. So it is -18. So let's practice this. So we're going to be practicing on using a number line, and we may use tile. 3 times 2. On a number line, how is this represented? Well, it says 3 groups of +2. So starting at 0, 3 groups of 2. One group of 2, second group of 2, third group of 2. That is why 3 groups of 2 is 6. However, we could represent this with tiles if you need to. 3 groups of 2. Here is one group of 2, our second group of 2, and our third group of 2. 3 times 2 is 6. So when you multiply 2 positive, it will be positive. When the signs are alike, it will be positive. Next one. 3 groups of -4, or 3 times -4. How would this be represented on a number line? So 3 groups of -4. So here's one group of -4. Here is our second group of -4. Here's our third group of -4. So what number would that be? That would be -12. What if you prefer using these tiles? So here is -4. It says we need 3 groups of -4. And there we see -12 again. So what did we notice about this? When we multiply, when they are different sign, the answer is always negative. 3 times -4 is -12. 3 groups of -4. So you have groups of negatives, so the answer will be negative. Now, what happens if you have a negative on the outside? It's saying you do the opposite of. So 4 times 3. So if we have 4 groups of 3, here is one group of 3. Here's our second group of 3. Here's our third group of 3. And here's a fourth group of 3. What is the opposite of 12? The answer would be -12. So that is the answer, -12. We could represent this on a number line. It says opposite of 4 groups of 3. So here is one group of 3, second group of 3, third group of 3, and a fourth group of 3 would be 12. But it says opposite of. So what's on the other side of the number line? What's the opposite of 12? -12. So opposite of 4 groups of 3. So when the signs are different, it's negative. Could we also say that this is saying 3 times -4? 3 groups of -4? Rewrite it as 3 groups of -4 using commutative property. We could. So 3 times -4 is also -12. And last but not least, -2 times -3. It's saying what's the opposite of 2 groups of -3? So here is our first group of -3. Here is our second group of -3. So opposite of 2 groups of -3 is -6. So opposite of that is 6. The way I see it is, what's the opposite of a negative? Positive. So 2 times 3 is +6. And let's try this one. So let's, in order operation, we do the parentheses first. What's 5 times 13? 65. So it's saying, what's the opposite of 2 groups of 65? First group 65, second group is 65, this would be 130. So the opposite of 130 is -130. So opposite is -130. Again, when the signs are different, it's negative. Ooh, we have 3 numbers. So let's multiply the first pair. Opposite of 2 times 5. 2 times 5 is 10, so opposite is -10 times 4. So what's the opposite of 10 times 4? 40, so it'll be -40 is the answer. Next one, another 3 numbers. So it's saying, let's look at the first pair number. What's the opposite of 4 times -2? 4 times -2 is -8, because 4 groups of -2 is -8. Opposite of that is 8. Or you can see as this, what's the opposite of a negative? Positive, 8. So we need to multiply 8 groups of -3. 8 groups of -3, so -3, -3, -3, -3, -3, -3, -3, -3. 8 groups of -3 would be -24. So for those of us who are confused by the rule, when we multiply 2 positives, the answer will be positive. When you multiply by 2 negatives, it will also be positive, because when the signs are the same, it will be positive. What's the opposite of a negative? Positive. What happens if you multiply a positive and a negative? What would the answer be? Negative, because it's saying groups of negatives, so it'll be negative. And what if you multiply a negative by a positive? It will be negative, because it's saying you do the opposite of a positive, which is a negative. So when the signs are the same, positive. When the signs are different, negative. So using that, we should be able to answer the following question. What's 3 times 2? The answer would be 6. What's 3 times -2, or 3 groups of -2? That'll be -2, -2, -2, -6. The signs are different, negative. So 2 times 5 is 10. 3 times -3 is -9. To see that, it's saying you go 3 groups of -3. One group of -3, second group of -3, third group of -3, so it's -9. 5 times -2. 5 groups of -2. One group, two group, three group, four group, five group, so it's -10. 4 times -3. 4 groups of -3. 1, 2, 3, and it'll be -12. So -3 times 2 is the opposite of 3 groups of 2. So it's, what's the opposite of 3 times 2? 6, so it's -6. Negative 3 times negative 2. Some people see as this. What's the opposite of this? Negative, positive. So the answer 3 times 2 is 6. So let's practice these. What's 5 times negative 8? Well, 5 times 8 is 40. 5 groups of negative 8, so negative 40. What's the opposite of 3 times 7? Opposite of 21 is negative. What's the opposite of 4 times negative 6? Or you can see as what's the opposite of a negative? Positive, so 4 times 6 is 24. 3 times 4 is 12. And what's 12 times negative 2? 12 groups of negative 2 would be, negative 24. Let's do pairs of numbers. What's the opposite of this negative? Positive, so 2 times 4 is 8. So what's 8 times negative 5? 8 groups of negative 5s would be negative 40, because you have negative 5, 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 negative 5. That's negative 40. Ooh, let's do pairs of numbers. I'm going to multiply these two and then these two. So opposite of a negative is positive, so this would be 10. Opposite of a negative would be a positive, so that would be 9. 10 times 9 is 90. Brian has a saving account. Every Friday he withdraws. You know, I'm going to start using my. Every Friday he withdraws $5 from the account and donates the money to the local food bank. What is the change in Ryan's account after 3 Fridays? So in 3 Fridays he donates negative 5. He withdraws $5. So, in other words, he is withdrawing $15, or negative 15. You could have represented it as negative 5 plus negative 5 plus negative 5 equals negative 15. But remember, repeated addition is really multiplication. The temperature in Denver has been dropping 4 degrees per hour. To represent as an integer is negative 4. How many degrees will the temperature have dropped after 5 hours? So, in 5 hours, it drops 4 degrees. So it will drop 20. Or negative 4 plus second hour drop negative 4, third hour drop negative 4, fourth hour negative 4, fifth hour drop negative 4, negative 20. That's a change. Death Valley is the lowest point in the United States. Its altitude is 282 feet below sea level. The Bentley Trench in Antarctica is the lowest point on Earth. It is 9 times lower than the Bentley Trench altitude. So, Death Valley is negative 282, and Death Valley is 9 times that. If we multiply those two numbers, you will get 2,538, but it's negative because it is 9 times this, negative, because it is the lowest point on Earth. Would that be a positive or would it be a negative? Negative, because it's below sea level. And this is how you multiply integers. As soon as I can get out of this board.